The story of Meemaw's illegal casino is incredibly complicated, so to help you understand it better, I'm going to break down every key moment that shaped how this thing actually ran, and show how a love of gambling can turn a chaotic grandmother into someone getting arrested. Now, before we even get to the casino, you need to understand something about Meemaw. This woman did not just stumble into gambling, she was built for it. All the way back in season 1, she's playing poker with Sheldon and teaching him life lessons through the game. She's using Sheldon's math brain to get football gambling advice, which Mary obviously hates. There's even a loan shark named Vincent connected to her in a casino setting early on. So by the time we get to season 5, Meemaw has been comfortable around gambling for years. The only difference now is that she stops being a player and decides to become the one running the table. And she doesn't build the operation from scratch either. That's the part most people get wrong. Meemaw bought a laundromat that already had a secret casino in the back. There's this laundromat in Medford called Medford Wash. A guy named Chet owned it, and when he decided to retire, the place went up for sale. On the surface, it looked like a completely normal small-town laundromat. Washing machines, dryers, nothing special. But the reason Meemaw was interested had nothing to do with laundry. Medford Wash had a secret gambling room hidden in the back. That was the real product. The laundromat was just the thing sitting in front of it. And here's the detail that makes this whole story possible. Meemaw knew the room was completely illegal. She says it herself, but she also learned from a local cop named Jake Rutledge that police in Medford generally looked the other way when it came to rooms like this. As far as the cops were concerned, these little backroom operations were harmless. Nobody was getting hurt, nobody was complaining, so nobody bothered to shut them down. That informal tolerance is the foundation everything else is built on. Not a law, not a license, just a handshake understanding between small-town criminals and small-town cops that this stuff was no big deal. And that's all Meemaw needed to hear. She didn't want to be a gambler anymore. She wanted to be the house. So she buys Medford Wash, takes over the back room, and just like that, Meemaw is running an illegal casino in small-town Texas. Adult Sheldon even drops a narration comment about liking laundromats, which is funny considering what was actually happening behind the washing machines. And for about 5 minutes, the whole setup works perfectly, because almost immediately, Dale, her boyfriend, makes the mistake of asking Jake directly whether the operation is legal. And Jake, the same cop who just said police don't care about these rooms, suddenly decides he does care. He raids the back room, puts up police tape, and shuts the whole thing down. Not because anyone was getting hurt, because Jake is running for sheriff, and busting an illegal gambling operation makes him look good on the campaign trail. He doesn't arrest Meemaw though, because of his connection to Dale. So the room is closed, but Meemaw is still free, which means the only thing standing between her and reopening is figuring out how to do it without getting shut down a second time. And the person who solves that problem is the last person you'd expect. Georgie Cooper, Meemaw's teenage grandson, looks at the situation and comes up with a workaround that's honestly kind of genius. His idea is simple: stop paying out cash directly. Instead, the machines spit out tickets, and customers use those tickets to claim prizes: stuffed animals, teddy bears, random merchandise. Then, if someone wants actual money, the casino buys the prize back from them after the fact. It's basically the Chuck E. Cheese model, except instead of a kid's pizza place, it's an illegal gambling room in the back of a Texas laundromat. And the wild part is, it works. Not because it's actually legal, because it isn't, but because it puts the operation into this weird gray area that's way harder for anyone to prosecute. You're not technically paying cash for gambling, you're giving out prizes. And then separately, completely unrelated, you happen to be buying secondhand teddy bears from people who just happen to be standing in your store. It's ridiculous. And it's also just clever enough to hold up as long as nobody pushes too hard. Now, the customers are not thrilled about this new system. A guy named Wade, who's one of the regulars, is genuinely confused and annoyed because he came to gamble and win money, not walk out with a stuffed animal. Meemaw and Georgie are also behind the counter counting quarters and coins, which gives you a sense of how hands-on this operation is. There's no fancy accounting system. There's no digital payment processing. It's two family members in a back room counting small change and handing out teddy bears. And somehow that's enough to keep the business alive. But it also attracts exactly the kind of attention Meemaw didn't want. Jake comes back. This time, he's not there to raid anything. He's there to get paid. He frames it as an investment in the police department and asks for around 10% of what the casino brings in. The message is crystal clear. You pay me, and I make sure nobody shuts this place down again. You don't pay me, and I become your biggest problem. So now the casino is running on two parallel systems that are both completely illegal. Georgie's prize workaround keeps the operation in a gray area that's harder to prosecute on paper, and Jake's protection money keeps the one person who could prosecute it from ever wanting to. Neither leg of this thing is legal. The whole operation is held together by a loophole that frustrates customers and a cop on on the payroll who could flip on Meemaw the second he decides the money isn't worth the risk. But for now, it works. The machines keep running, the quarters keep dropping, and the cash starts piling up. And it doesn't take long for the rest of the family to find out. Mary, Georgie's mom, discovers that her son is working at an illegal gambling room behind a laundromat, and she does not take it well. What happens is, Meemaw runs an ad for the laundromat in the church bulletin, and a woman named Peg sees it and mentions the gambling room, which tips Mary off. Mary goes straight to Meemaw. She's worried about the police, she's worried about Georgie's soul, and she tries everything she can think of to make him quit, including bringing up Jesus. And it doesn't work. Georgie is making money, Meemaw needs the help, and Mary is left standing on the moral high ground with nobody listening to her. It's a dynamic that's going to repeat over and over across this entire arc. Mary is always right about the danger, and nobody ever cares until the consequences actually land. But the family drama is only one side of the problem, because the other side, the money side, is about to get way more complicated than anyone expected. The first sign that this thing is getting out of Meemaw's control comes from a woman named June. June is Dale's ex-wife and part of Meemaw's social circle, and she figures out something about the machines that Meemaw didn't know. When you unplug a machine and turn the power back on, it resets to its highest payout setting. That's a flaw in the hardware that nobody caught. June exploits it and wins $11,000 in a single session. Meemaw can't pay her. The money coming in is tied up in the gambling room, and she doesn't have $11,000 in a form she can just hand over without exposing the operation even further. So June does the one thing Meemaw absolutely does not want. She forces her way into the business as a partner, not because she earned it, not because she brings anything to the table, but because Meemaw owes her money she can't produce, and June knows it. And the show never actually confirms whether June stayed a partner before the casino eventually closed, or whether Meemaw managed to pay her off at some point. That detail just hangs there, completely unresolved. And the problems keep stacking. Meemaw wants more customers, but she can't advertise the casino. Georgie actually suggests some kind of marketing push, and Meemaw shuts it down immediately. You can't put out flyers for a business that's not supposed to exist. So the operation is stuck in this weird place where it's making good money, but can't grow the way a normal business would, because acknowledging it publicly would destroy it. Then, by season 5, episode 16, the cash problem gets even worse. Meemaw brings home $14,000, all in small bills, from a back room behind a laundromat, and she refuses to put any of it in a bank. Her reason? She's afraid the deposit will trigger a money laundering investigation. Think about what that means for a second. The business is successful enough to generate that kind of cash, but the cash itself is essentially trapped. She can't deposit it, she can't invest it, she can't explain where it came from if anyone ever asks. She gives $100 each to Sheldon and Missy, which is a nice grandmother move, but the other $13 of $800 is just sitting in a suitcase with nowhere to go. So by this point, Meemaw has an illegal casino she can't advertise, $14,000 in a suitcase she can't deposit, a cop taking 10% off the top, machines that can be hacked by literally unplugging them, an unwanted business partner who forced her way in through a glitch payout, and her own daughter Mary actively trying to get Georgie to quit. Most people would look at that pile of problems and decide to scale back, maybe take the money they've made and walk away while they still can. Meemaw does the exact opposite. She goes bigger, and the first expansion isn't even gambling. At the end of season 5, Meemaw and Georgie start a cigarette side hustle, buying cartons in Mexico and reselling them at a markup through the laundromat. It has nothing to do with the machines directly, but it's plugged into the same customer base and the same location, and it goes exactly how you'd expect. They get busted at the border with 400 cartons of undeclared cigarettes, $399 over the legal limit. Judge Landry handles the case with a $2,500 penalty situation. Dale and George Sr. have to drive down and help bail them out. The casino isn't even a month into season 6, and Meemaw already has a border arrest on her record, but that doesn't slow her down at all. The video store next door becomes available, and Meemaw takes over the lease. She reopens it as Video Village, with a regular video rental store facing the street and video poker machines hidden in the back. Same model as the laundromat. Legal business in front, illegal business behind the wall. Twice the footprint, twice the exposure. And to stock the new operation, Meemaw and Dale drive all the way to Biloxi, Mississippi to buy poker machines from a sketchy vendor named Dennis. Dennis sells them the machines, takes the money, and then follows them back to Medford. He shows up demanding an ongoing arrangement, basically trying to become a second Jake. Except Dennis isn't a cop. He's a criminal from out of state who now knows exactly where Meemaw operates. Meemaw handles it by slashing his tires, and Dale punches him, and that's apparently enough to make Dennis go away. But even though he doesn't come back, the point stands. millions. Every time the casino gets bigger, it attracts attention from people Meemaw can't control. And those people aren't just coming from the criminal side. Pastor Jeff and a group from the church launch a campaign against Video Village over the adult content in the video store. This is the legal, public-facing half of the business, and it's now under attack from the most morally motivated people in town. Meemaw's defense: she pulls the rental history of Pastor Jeff's wife Robin and several church elders and threatens to share what they've been renting with the whole congregation. Pastor Jeff backs down, but Meemaw just had to blackmail a member of the clergy using his own wife's video rentals to protect a store that's actually a front for illegal gambling. That's where this is at now. Around the same time, Mandy finds out about the casino. She notices Meemaw has way too much cash for someone who just owns a laundromat. And eventually, Georgie and Meemaw show her the back room. And instead of panicking, Mandy is into it. She connects the money to their baby's future, to private school for Cece, to a life that Georgie's legitimate earnings can't provide. The casino stops being Meemaw's side hustle and becomes the financial backbone of Georgie's entire young family. By this point, the operation is big enough that Meemaw and Georgie can't run it alone. George Sr. and Missy get pulled in to help divide duties between the laundromat, the gambling room, and Video Village. Missy actually wants to work the gambling den side, while George prefers the laundromat, which tells you everything about both of their personalities. There's even a doctor in town who knows about the back room because he's lost money there. The secret that started with Meemaw and Georgie is now common knowledge among half the people in their orbit. So now Meemaw is running an illegal gambling room, a video storefront held together by blackmail, and she's already been arrested once for smuggling cigarettes across the border. And somehow, the thing that finally pushes the whole operation past the point of no return isn't any of that. It's a roulette wheel. Season 7. But first, let me back up to the end of Season 6, because the casino almost got exposed before the roulette wheel even entered the picture. A tornado tears through Medford and breaks the laundromat's windows. The storm actually destroys Meemaw's house, not the laundromat itself, but the damage is bad enough that Dale has to move everyone in the building into the back room for shelter. And that group includes Pastor Jeff. The same pastor Meemaw blackmailed using his wife's rental records is now standing inside the illegal casino, surrounded by slot machines and poker equipment, watching Meemaw try to keep a straight face. Jeff sees everything, and what does he do? He leads a prayer right there in the middle of the back room, surrounded by gambling machines, during a tornado. Afterward, he decides to keep quiet. He figures Meemaw has suffered enough from the storm and that exposing her would be piling on. Behind the scenes, the writers actually used the tornado because the Warner Brothers lot was being redeveloped, and Meemaw's house set was getting torn down anyway. So the tornado was both a production necessity and an in-universe plot device. And it means Pastor Jeff, a man of God, is now keeping an illegal gambling secret because a tornado put him in the wrong room at the wrong time. After the storm, the casino bounces back fast. By the start of Season 7, Mandy visits Georgie at the laundromat, and he shows her the business is booming again. The storm wrecked the windows and destroyed Meemaw's house, but it didn't destroy the demand. People in Medford still want to gamble, and Meemaw is still the only game in town, which is exactly the kind of confidence that leads someone to make their worst decision. And Meemaw decides to push further than she ever has before by adding a roulette table. A guy named Herman has the wheel, and he tells Meemaw one table can pull in $1,000 on a good night. Meemaw pitches this to Georgie as diaper money, maybe even enough for a nanny. Georgie is worried. He actually brings up jail. For once in this entire arc, he tries to pump the brakes, but the money argument wins, and he goes along with it. Before the raid, things were already getting sloppy, and honestly, kind of weird. Georgie started bringing baby Cece to the gambling room because he needed to watch her while he worked. One day, Wade, the same confused regular from the teddy bear era, rubbed Cece's forehead for good luck before sitting down to play, and he won. Word spread instantly. Every other gambler in the room wanted the same treatment, and Georgie, ever the entrepreneur, started charging $5 per person for the privilege of touching his baby daughter's forehead. A literal infant became a paid good luck charm inside an illegal casino, and nobody in the room seemed to think that was strange. The room also got broken into through a rear door that was left open. Dale tried to play security with a baseball bat, and when Meemaw complained to Jake about the break-in, Jake basically shrugged and expected more money. Meemaw pointed out, correctly, that she'd been paying for protection from being shut down, not protection from every other problem in the world. Jake didn't care. Then, Season 7, Episode 7, Georgie and Mandy's wedding. Meemaw is in the gambling room watching Cece and managing the casino at the same time. She looks up at the CCTV monitor and sees police outside, not Jake running his Meema's usual routine, real cops, there for a real raid. She tries to grab Cece and run. She gets arrested. The fallout is immediate, and it hits every branch of the family at once. Sheldon is genuinely shocked that his grandmother, the same Meemaw he adores, the woman nobody is allowed to call him Moon Pie except for, has been running an illegal gambling operation this entire time. He was completely in the dark. Audrey, Mandy's mother, is furious when she learns Georgie works there, which creates a whole new layer of family tension during what was supposed to be a wedding celebration. And Missy, being Missy, tells Sheldon that Mary's prayer garden is actually hiding a dead body, turning the whole family secret situation into a joke. Because in this family, even a criminal arrest can become a bit. And here's something a lot of fans have pointed out. The Big Bang Theory never addresses any of this on screen. Not the laundromat, not Video Village, not the teddy bear workaround, not Jake's protection money, not the roulette wheel, not the house arrest. None of it. Meemaw shows up in The Big Bang Theory, and she's just a sweet grandmother with a Moon Pie nickname. The entire criminal enterprise just doesn't come up. Whether that's a retcon, or just Sheldon choosing not to bring it up, is something the show never clarifies. Meemaw gets put on house arrest. She can't go beyond 50 yards from her home. Both the laundromat and Video Village are shut down completely, which means Georgie and Mandy suddenly have zero income. Their entire financial plan was built on a business that no longer exists. Sheldon decides to study law so he can represent Meemaw in court, which is very on brand, but doesn't go anywhere. Then comes the sentencing. Meemaw is assigned a probation officer named Rhonda Thomason, and Rhonda is not the kind of person who gets charmed. She gives Meemaw 180 hours of community service, and makes it very clear she can send her to jail for non-compliance. George Sr. tries to talk to Rhonda about reducing the hours, and somehow makes things worse. And here's where the arc that stretched across 3 seasons finally lands. Meemaw's community service ends up at the church, Mary's church, the same institution that tried to shut down Video Village, the same building where Pastor Jeff kept Meemaw's secret after the tornado, and now the place where a court is forcing Meemaw to sort through donated clothes in a basement room. Mary is offended that Meemaw is even trying to log community service hours at the church, so Meemaw gets shuffled into the donation room instead. Sheldon, who earlier tried to be her lawyer, ends up helping organize the donation room, which is somehow the most fitting ending possible for his involvement in this whole saga. The woman who bribed a cop, blackmailed a pastor using his wife's rental records, bought machines from a sketchy vendor in Biloxi, smuggled cigarettes across the border, used her great-granddaughter as a paid good luck charm, and ran an illegal casino across 3 seasons, is now folding other people's shirts in a church basement because a judge told her she had to. That is how Meemaw's illegal casino actually worked. If you want more young Sheldon breakdowns like this one, check out this video right here.